This is Matthew, author, artist, and commentator. I run luminousbeings.blog, where you can find all my articles, stories, drawings, and podcasts. Once happiness is gone, it will never return. That's true for anyone. Those are the closing words of Gundam 8, spoken by Domon Kashu. Welcome to King of Hearts, Queen of Sorrows, my platform for discussing one of my favorite shows of all time, Mobile Fighter G Gundam. I'm your host, Matthew Munoz. I'm an aspiring author and selective enjoyer of anime. So, I talked last episode about how the episodes 7 through 11 comprise an arc I call the Acceptance Arc. And again, I was really stricken by how powerful the parallels are to the sort of situation that Domon and Rain find themselves in. So, again, I don't like doing episode recaps, but I'll just give the context of the episode in a pretty straightforward manner. 5 years ago, Argo Golski crashed into like a police outpost that Andrew Graham and his wife, Norma Graham, were positioned on or posted at. And in the event, Argo jumped out of his ship, like in the stern. I think it's the front of the ship, the stern area, where, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, where Andrew and his wife were, and he's standing there in between them, and then she flies away into space and is dead. Argo's gone when Andrew wakes up later, and he sees the entire ship or the station completely demolished, and his government is telling him that Norma is dead. And years later, he has joined in the Gundam fight because he knows that Argo Golski is a Gundam fighter for Neo-Russia, and he plans on killing him with his own hands, or with his Gundam's hands. So let's go ahead and do the level 1 parallel of that, which is that, 3-4 months ago, whatever it was, Kyoji Kashu, Domon's brother, got their mother killed and fled, and Domon has joined the Gundam fight in order to stop him and sort of to take revenge. He's there to save his father, but he's also so hurt about what happened to his mother, and he's heard about the whole situation. It's very painful, and it's so raw for him, I'm sure. And then towards the end of the episode, you have another reflection or echoing of the situation where Andrew and Rain are together in Grizzly Gundam, and they're on the precipice. They're about to fall, and if they fall, they'll probably die because the Gundam has been torn open by Domon. So, Domon causes this damage, and he is looking up at them, and he can't do anything to stop them from dying. And Argo's there again, and he's kind of faced with the choice of should he stop Andrew from coming after him, or should he do the right thing and save his enemy, his sworn enemy who's trying to kill him, and Rain, who's innocent in the situation. Now, calling back to Mrs. Kashu, her events, or her thing, she was running towards Kyoji when she got shot by one of the people who had been hit by the Dark Gundam's bullets or whatever, one of the, Defense Force or Army from Neo Japan. I don't know that she was... I characterized her as taking a bullet for her son in a previous episode, but I don't know that that's so true here. And I don't think it neatly parallels the situation, except for maybe in the way that maybe she was running to him to stop him from carrying out his plan, and here Rain has joined up with Andrew in order to stop him from seeking his revenge and doing something bad. So there is kind of a paralleling here. And just as a writer and as an observer of media, I don't know for a fact if this kind of paralleling is sloppy or if it's really deep and profound and more effective. But it's definitely interesting. And I pointed out that there were these kind of multi-layered parallels kind of flowing back and forth between different characters in the last episode with Chico and Gina Rodriguez in Neo Mexico. Another thing, I'm confused. The colonies are Neo America, Neo Mexico, Neo Japan. Is that what they also call the people, the countries on Earth? Are they also Neo this and Neo that? Because it kind of seems like that's what they call it. They don't call them Old France and Old Mexico, which I kind of think that'd be cooler, but it's a little confusing. Some of the world building is a little oblique, or like, it's kind of hidden, so it's hard to tell on some things like that. But anyway, I really do enjoy the paralleling, and it's funny, I guess, talking about the show like this is really opening my eyes more to like just how good it is. And I guess technically I don't really care if this method of the like multi-layered like non-linear, I guess it's more non-linear. I guess that's the point that I'm making. If that kind of paralleling is seen as good by people, because it's seen as good by me, like it makes everything feel more impactful. Something interesting this is a bit of a tangent, so I'll warn you about that now. I'm pretty sure the channel is Lessons from the Screenplay on YouTube. They do videos where they analyze screenplays, and they tell you the lessons they learned from analyzing them. The guy does. And anyway, he was talking about The Last Jedi, and he was talking about the narrative, like the narrative drama structure built into The Last Jedi. And he used like 9 characters, and 3 of them were principal characters who were faced with a challenge. They had something that they wanted and something that they needed, and each of those 3 principal characters had had 2 characters on either side of them, like enabling them to take what they want or seize what they want and not to grow towards what they need. And then they had 1 character on the other side prodding them to grow towards what they need. And I almost wonder if the structure of these episodes is kind of doing something similar. A lot of the drama in G Gundam and in shows like Yu-Gi-Oh, for example, or stories like Yu-Gi-Oh, which is another tournament thing, is like you have all these characters you can enjoy, but one of them really needs to win because their stakes are the most important, but everybody else kind of needs to win too. And it just makes the stakes more interesting, and it makes it more dramatic because every battle, every fight really counts for something because it's bringing people closer to their dreams or not. And sometimes it's shattering people's dreams, and that really stinks, especially when you grow attached to those characters. So to kind of bring these two, I don't know if they're disparate concepts or not, but bring these 2 ideas together, let's look at each character and talk about what they want and what they need, and how their wants and needs conflict with each other. So Domon wants to wake up his brother, or no, wants to wake up his father. In order to do that, he needs to win the Gundam fight. He needs to defeat Kyoji, or capture him and defeat the Dark Gundam. Which those things, in order to get what he wants, he has to do what he needs to do, which is a rather simplistic way of putting it. But maybe Domon needs more than that. Maybe he needs to accept that there's more to life than seeking his revenge and getting that goal, and maybe there's more to the story than he understands. Just like with Andrew, he wants revenge against Argo, and he's willing to kill him and then basically die. And he says that he's shaming Norma, and he realizes at the end of the episode that he's acting like Argo was, or like he thinks Argo was. And he probably needs to let go, and he needs to really mourn her loss and heal from what happened and let go of his need or want to kill Argo to get his revenge. Argo wants to free his friends who have been captured. They were captured in that same incident from 5 years ago that ended up killing Norma Graham, and he needs to win the Gundam fight. So he needs to defeat Domon. He needs to defeat what's his name? The guy, Andrew Graham, and that's what he needs to do in order to be free. And I guess really he wants to be free, but in order to be free, he needs to win this fight. And I think that's a little sloppier. Again, I'm not sure these are structured with that structure in mind, and like I don't know who's enabling Domon and who's stopping him or pushing him towards what he needs to do, because Well, I guess it's almost like his foes push him towards what he needs, and maybe Rain kind of enables him. I don't know. It's hard to say. There's an exchange between Rain and Domon in the beginning of the episode where she wants to go sightseeing, and he chides her for that. He yells at her. He's being a real jerk to her, and he's saying that basically she doesn't have skin in the game. Domon basically tells her that he's done with her because she's not as serious about the mission as he is, and he frames it as if he has no choice but to do what he's been tasked to do and what he's chosen to do. And she leaves, and she feels like she's done with him, and she frames it in such a way where she makes a remark that, like, she didn't join him, or to the effect, she makes a remark to the effect that she didn't join him because she wanted to. So Rain, I think, feels she needs to stick by Domon's side and help him, but I don't know what she wants. Does she want to be free? Does she want to be free of guilt? Does she just want to see him happy again? I don't know. It's an interesting thing, and like there's not enough context for the characters given here, at least over the course of the show so far. So we'll kind of have to follow that where it goes. It's easier with a movie, I think, because it's so much. It's such a more compact story format that you can really see those things, and you have to be careful not to waste time and the like. And then like characters like Nastasha, I don't feel like she really fits in. Like she's probably more of a storytelling cog to push Argo towards something, or to pull him towards something. So maybe she's two sides of the same thing. Maybe maybe she's coaxing him to win, pushing him to win, so that he can free his friends, and then which is the need that he wants. And then wait, how does that work? One of them enables and one of them pushes the character. So who is Argo being pushed towards, or what is Argo being pushed towards? Like he literally needs to be. He's got a bomb strapped to his chest, so he kind of needs to be free. So maybe this isn't how the story was structured, or maybe it wasn't fully structured in that way, or maybe it was only really structured that way for Domon and Rain, and maybe to some extent Andrew, and the way that Andrew's story plays out is to parallel Domon's, because I do think there is a parallel between Andrew and Domon's story beyond the fact that Andrew almost took Rain away from Domon, so to speak, like Argo had taken Norma away from Andrew. I don't want to get too much into spoilers, but that comment Domon makes about never having happiness again once everything's been taken away from you, or whatever it was. Don't remember now. I started talking about this like 15 minutes ago, so I don't remember. But Domon is trapped by his past, and he's unable to move forward. And I kind of think the reason he's so unkind to Rain at times is because he's so, and not that I excuse it and think it's good, but I think he's just like trapped in that pain, and he talks about Kyoji with such anger and hatred that I think he really does want revenge on Kyoji for what happened. And I don't think, obviously I don't think what happened, what Kyoji did was good, but at the same time, Domon holds such hatred for him that I think he's kind of consumed by it. And I think we can see what being consumed by your hatred and grief can cause you to do, because Andrew thought of himself at the end when he was hanging there about to die, that, oh no, I've dishonored Norma, or she'd be upset with me because I've become what I've hated for all this time, and I've hated this for her sake, or because of her I've held all this hatred in my heart towards Argo. And maybe there's a lesson in there for Domon. I think it's definitely a lesson he's not ready to learn, and I think it's a lesson that the show's not really ready to put out there. But again, I've seen the show, so I know a little bit about what's going on, even though I'm trying to take things as they come. But just kind of an interesting thing, I guess, looking forward to the future. And here's another parallel or layering of meaning. Just kind of work through it here. Domon and Andrew are both consumed by feelings of revenge and hatred towards a man that they're now pursuing in order to set things right, in their opinion. Argo feels he's trying to free his men, but he, I don't know if he actually said this to Andrew or what, because it was all voiceover and it was over action and panning of people doing stuff. But Argo basically says, I'm going to win this Gundam fight to free my guys, my crew, and until I do, I will not be running or hiding, and Andrew, you're more than welcome to come for me and try to take my life. And I don't know what that is. Is that Argo feeling guilt for Norma being dead? Does he accept responsibility? Does he want Andrew to be able to have somebody to like put that on to deal with his grief? Like, I'm really not sure what that's all about. But I think it's interesting, and I don't know, I feel like it's kind of telling. I was going to say I think it definitely makes Argo out to be more mature, and I think Argo is, well, definitely like way older than Domon, I would guess. And I would think that Andrew is younger than Argo, but not by much. And it's probably like, Domon, Argo, or Domon, Andrew, and Argo, maybe by like 5 years, 5-year gap in between each or something. That wouldn't really surprise me. And it's not like G Gundam is about growing up. Like, it's not that kind of show. But I don't know. There's something there. It feels like there's something instructive and useful there. In that, look at Domon and Andrew are on one side of this thing, one side of this event, and then I guess Argo kind of might even pair or line up with, parallel in some way, Kyoji, because they're older people who wronged these younger people who are now seeking revenge against them, and we don't really know what Kyoji's doing, but Argo's he's saying, like, I'm not hiding and I'm ready to accept my fate. It's not something I'm going to run away from until a certain point. So, I don't know. Or maybe, rather, referencing Rain saying that she, didn't choose to be with Domon, but she's sticking with him in his mission for a certain reason. Maybe she's kind of accepted something along the lines of Argo, that she is stuck in something because she feels like she has to do it, and, she'd rather quit and rather not put herself, in danger or to be the recipient of Domon's anger or mistreatment or whatever, but she feels like she has to for some higher purpose. Anyway, I think I did give a pretty good description of what each character was like in this episode, so I'm not going to do that. I'll just run through a few things just for, for form, to be pro forma. So there was an unofficial bout between Neo Canada's Grizzly Gundam and Neo Japan's Shining Gundam, and it was a draw. Yeah, it was a draw, and Argo was involved, and he was gonna fight, and then he couldn't because Domon interrupted, and there had even been a little spat between Grizzly and Shining Gundam earlier in the episode, and then of course, Rain gets captured by Andrew. The funny thing is she's gotten captured a couple times, and when they show her at Andrew's place, his cabin, she just looks so irritated. It's pretty funny. And then, one thing I didn't mention about her, but she was really brave in jumping onto his Gundam, onto Grizzly Gundam, and then climbing inside of the cockpit, and, obviously she knows her way around because she's a mechanic. That was really brave of her, and that was really cool, and it was interesting. She's like, look, you've involved me so far, and, you're trying to leave, I'm going to stick with you, dang it. Almost kind of like her and Domon, where she's been involved with him for, the past few months working on this whole mission, and he tells her to go away, but she's saying, no, I'm going to stick with you, and I'm going to do this. And then, Domon is so remorseful about her being in danger, and he even offers to get disqualified and give up on his father, and on, well, maybe Kyoji, but for sure on freeing his father if he fails to win and become Gundam of Gundams. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. I don't know what that means or where that feeds in, but maybe when I'm going back over this later, it'll come to me and really click. Anyway, I feel like I'm starting to blather, so I'm going to cut myself short. Rain didn't get to use any cool gadgets today, although she did use her mechanic and engineering and hacking skills to force her way into the cockpit with Andrew, which was pretty cool. And then he gut punches her and knocks her out. By the way, I've seen the gut punch to knock somebody out. I've never been punched in the gut like that, but I've seen it in tokusatsu, so live action stuff, and anime. And is that like a real thing? I don't think I've ever seen that in any American cartoons. I've seen someone get like punched in the face and clocked or hit on the back of the head or whatever to get knocked out, but never like in the gut. So yeah, maybe I'll look into that and report back on the next episode. Anyway, so she didn't use any gadgets. Oh, but here's a lost in translation thing that I kind of let slip earlier. Grizzly Gundam is actually Lumber Gundam. Not that it really matters. It's just kind of funny. I kind of think it's funny because I don't quite understand why they would change the name. I don't see anything offensive about saying Lumber Gundam as opposed to Grizzly, but maybe Grizzly just sounds better. He kind of does a bear hug on Domon, so maybe that's why. Let me give you the review part. I really like this episode. Obviously, the more I talked about it, I talked about the episode for almost as long as the runtime of the episode. So it must have been pretty good, especially because it wasn't complaints. It was me contemplating like the depths of like the goodness, the depths of the skill that went into writing it. So yeah, pretty good, pretty good. But that's all I have to say for now. So folks, remember to go out there and grasp happiness. Thank you for your time and attention. I'd love to do more of this. Like, share, and subscribe to cheer me on, or give me feedback to make me stronger and smarter. Visit luminousbeings.blog for more. I link everything I do there, so if you want to comment, that's the place where I'll definitely see it.